Previously, you were asked to take part in a survey about your news consumption habit. If you're like most Chinese adults, you will be getting much more information from the internet than from the print media. Indeed, the digital media, especially the social media, has changed the way of gathering and distributing news under less control and supervision. Social media has become a hotbed of fake news, a phrase picked by Collins Dictionary as Word of the Year 2017. It is defined as false, often sensational information disseminated under the guise of news reporting. An important part of media literacy is news literacy, that is, the ability to use critical thinking skills to judge the reliability and credibility of news reports and information sources. In this lecture, we will do a case study so that we could come up with a checklist for detecting fake news. The following is a story taken from NewsThumb, a British website. Please stop the video to read this news story. Do you think it is real or fake? Why or why not? At first glance, the story seems real. United Airlines did make a blunder and forcibly dragged off an Asian passenger in April 2017. Quotations such as "great," "just great," "help America great again," "bigly," and "sad," "so un-American" do sound like Donald Trump. His response to the event, supporting a US company while blaming immigrants, also seems to reflect his philosophy and policy. However, under closer scrutiny, we may find something fishy. So how can we detect the fake news? 1. Check the sources. In general, stories should be checked from one or more reputable news organizations. When you come across a piece of news information, the first thing you need to do is to check its source. For instance, broadsheet newspapers are more trustworthy than those covered by tabloids. If the news story comes from a website you haven't heard about, you should click on the site's About Us page first. In this case, the British website NewsThumb carries this disclaimer on its homepage: UK spoof news and satire. Spoof means a funny and silly piece of writing that copies the style of an original work, or something like 恶搞 in Chinese. Indeed, some sites intentionally write false, humorous stories as a satire. Another example is The Onion, a US-based news satire website. If you read a story on social media, you should exercise more caution and stay away from shady sources of information. WeChat, for instance, is a place where dubious stories get shared or promoted. One of the easiest ways to figure out if a news story is legitimate or not is to check it against the stories posted on other reputable sites. If no mainstream news organization has picked up the story, it is very likely the story is fake. When you read further, you want to examine the support in the story. Many times, fake stories will cite official or official-sounding sources. But once you look into it, the source doesn't back up the claim. For instance, the story cited senior aide Chuck Williams. But Trump doesn't have any White House aide by the name of Chuck Williams. 2. Don't be tricked by the headline. You need to read beyond the headline. If the headline is provocative and emotional, you should take a step back and re-evaluate it. Indeed, even in legitimate news stories, the headline doesn't always tell the whole story, which can lead to misunderstanding. On the other hand, fake news tries hard to appeal to the reader, purposefully misleading the reader. In this story, President Trump was quoted, or rather misquoted, as saying, "my kind of people," in the headline. The fake news comes out when the entire world was angry with the airline, and the misquotation sounds much more dramatic and eye-catching. 3. Check the byline. Another telltale sign of a fake story is often the byline, or the line at the beginning of a news report or magazine article that gives the writer's name. Do a quick search on the author. Is he or she credible? Is it even a real name? We may find a number of Pete Redferns online, but not a single one of them has written reputable news stories. 4. Check the date. The date is another key indicator. Throughout the story of President Trump, not a single reference or frame is provided, which is highly unusual, as timeliness is at the core of news. Be careful. Some false news stories aren't completely fake, but rather distortions of real events. These claims can take a legitimate news story and twist what it says, or even claim that something that happened long ago is related to current events. 5. Check the news photos. Studying the news photo is very important. It is obvious that the image in this example has been digitally altered, something a reputable news organization would never do. 6. Check your own biases. Checking your own biases is the most difficult thing to do. In this case, you may have heard a lot of negative things about Trump, and therefore you don't particularly like the person. Confirmation bias leads people to put more stock in the information that confirms their beliefs and discount the information that doesn't. The next time you're automatically appalled at some WeChat post confirming something you believe in, take a moment to check it out. So to sum up, the key words for detecting fake news stories are source, headline, byline, date, photos, and personal biases. Rumors or fake news become extremely dangerous when we're talking about something serious. Imagine this dangerous cycle. You read something that is in line with your worldview, don't check it, half remember it, and then pass it on. For a while, the message takes on a life of its own and appears to validate itself. What are we going to do then? The traditional media, with its professional gatekeepers in place, is going to be a key element in helping us sort out facts from fiction. But in the digital era, the kinds of duties that used to be the responsibility of editors now fall on the shoulders of everyone, because news consumers can also be news producers in today's era. Therefore, we should make extra efforts on social media to try and verify stories before passing them on, especially if they confirm our pre-existing biases. Ask questions to yourselves like, is this a source I know and recognize? Has anyone fact-checked this? Does it link to primary sources? And do those sources match what the story says? All in all, when it comes to consuming news, we don't want to sit in the passenger seat. We need to be an informed driver.